Spontaneity and flexibility are essential ingredients these days in travel. Campgrounds are often full and showers are closed. We don't know what to expect, but our no reservation philosophy will allow us to adapt. When a friend invited us to camp over the 4th of July holiday, it took a nanosecond to say yes. What I didn't know was that a friend who had moved to Nebraska years ago was also joining us. We spent 3 wonderful days at Upper Gray's Meadow, above the aptly named town of Independence, to catch up with our friends and share in the beauty of the Eastern Sierra. At 6,000 feet, the campground is mostly shaded by large trees and a cool Sierra stream. There we go. We're at our campsite and somebody asked me to show them how we figure it out how to level. So now we have a little bit of an unusual situation in that our back end is higher than our front end because we had that agile off-road suspension package. And so what I do is I use my phone. There's an app on the phone called Measure or something. And I put that on I'll get John's phone so I can show you what it's like. I put that on the countertop to see how many degrees off it is. And we're off 2 degrees. So then I tell John how many blocks to put in because I kind of have a good idea of what it takes to get us up to level. So, and the way I do this is we brought a total of 14 blocks and I tell him so that we don't mix things up. I'll tell him, so like here, I'll tell him to go 3. So he's got 1, 2, 3 on the bottom, and then 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 1. So that's how we do it to communicate and not mix things up. So 3, 2, 1, 1 is the maximum number of blocks that we have for each tire. Onion Valley is a popular destination at 9,600 feet. It has a campground that accommodates mostly tents and small RVs, and easy access to the high country via Kearsarge Pass. John and I chose a lesser traveled trail to Robinson Lake. Nothing's gonna stop that tree. We're on the trail to Robinson Lake, right out of Onion Valley. And Onion Valley is one of the highest parking lots in the Sierra. So you can, and it reaches Kearsarge Pass, which is one of the lowest passes. So there's not a whole lot of elevation gain to get over that pass, and so it's very popular for that reason. And the parking lot fills up quickly. You have to park. We park down the road. It is a holiday weekend, and there are a lot of people here, so I'm glad we're on this trail instead of the one that goes to Kearsarge Pass. So we are going to go probably right up there over that saddle and then into the lake basin. We have arrived. Wow, isn't that pretty? Wow. Beautiful little setting. We didn't run into anybody on the trail coming up. That's amazing because there were so many people in that parking lot. I don't think they make these guides anymore, but I've had it for probably 50 years. This is the Mount Pinchot section of the 15-minute sections anyway. And we're camped down here in Gray's Meadow. And there's the road up. Here's the parking area, the campground. It's 1.8 miles. It's rather steep. We climbed 1,300 feet. And you don't have to carry too much water because there's streams along the route if you bring a water filter. There's the pack station, the trail up to Kearsarge. Last week there was a 5.8 earthquake at Owens Dry Lake, which is about 15 miles south of here. And there were some amazing photos from Whitney Portal of rock slides. I'll try to insert one of those so you can see it. And so as we climb down this talus field, it's in the back of my mind, any aftershocks. If we wanted to put some ice in our drinking bottles, that would be nice. Parking area so that if you're on an overnight trip, you can put any food that's from your vehicle, put it in the bear boxes, because the bears will come down here and they will break your windows. We did have to level it a little bit with a piece of asphalt. To get back and shower. the moon shade up over the sunny side, which is the refrigerator side. So that should help keep the refrigerator from getting too warm.
This big around.
Do you want me to get my sticks, or do you have them?
With the 2x2 as the rocket.
You got 2 burnt ones.
Oh shit! You told me.
Go ahead.
4th of July. I'm sitting here watching, not even watching my.
What? All right. Got it.
All right, Joe. As we said goodbye to our friends, we traveled north on 395 toward the Mammoth Lakes area. We had no idea whether we would find a campground, but we knew there were plenty of boondocking spots in the area. Still a zoo. Honor bar going again. Let's see. Oh my gosh, look at all that stuff. Wow. Wow. Fully loaded. Okay. What does John want? We have hooked up with our friends from Texas. Howdy. Howdy. Lori and David. Yeah, there you go. And this is the only shade we could find. But look at that view. They got, there's their van, and there's our van. And we have waterfront property. Oh yeah. Yeah. Look at this. Oh, sweet. Well, I just need some mosquito repellent. Here's our little private beach. She gets right in. He says it's not cold. Oh, wow.
You're fresh? Come on in.
Yeah, we're dreaming.
It is a little colder than like Georgian Bay.
Really? Perfect. We're being photobombed by a deer. Okay. John and I are at Convict Lake in the Eastern Sierra, and yesterday. Did you text me yesterday, or the day before? Anyway, Lori texted me and said that they were on their way from New Mexico, and whether Utah, and whether we wanted to meet up with them. And we just happened to be down in Independence, and I said absolutely. So they booked it at 2 a.m. Yep, and came up to see us, and then we have to head out in the morning. But Lori and her husband David, we met them at the Hill Country
State Natural Area.
Okay, I always say that wrong.
So
you may remember Lori from the video that I shot at that park. Anyway, and the reason I asked Lori if she would let me interview her again is because they've spent the last 3 months as a camp host. Would you call it?
Yes, host, but it wasn't a campground.
Right.
Yeah, we chose it. It was our first gig. We decided in December. We came across this. I subscribed to workcamper.com emails, the free version, and up came this ad from the National Forest Service, New Mexico, and we've been we were interested in going to New Mexico to see what it's like, temperature-wise and all that. And there was a job opening for March through April or May as a host, but not at a campground. It was a day use area. So we thought that would be a good way to get our toes wet and see what, if we could do that.
And this started before the pandemic. So
it did.
When did you start?
So I started communicating with the supervisor for the Forest Service in December, and she said, "Yeah, sounds great." And we just kind of emailed back and forth, and it was a go. Very, very shortly thereafter, and we said we would be out there at the beginning of March and that we could stay through the beginning of May. Well, then we left Texas like February 28th, and then we did a little bit of a sightseeing tour and took our time to get out there. And by the time we started on March 10th, we were trained basically for one day, and then the next day, the following day, the coronavirus was declared a pandemic, and so we did a soft close. So basically, our job kind of was reduced in one aspect, and we became more like well, we did a lot of.
Well, let's back up. Let's back up a second. So, I thought that some people who watch the channel might be interested in camp hosting at some time. And you are kind of a special case because you have a house in Texas.
We do have a house, so we don't rely on.
Right.
This was a volunteer position.
Yeah,
That's
so
why we took that. Yeah,
and you're not full time. You also have a small rig compared to most of the camp hosts you see.
Right.
They usually have ginormous.
Right. We live
rigs.
in we have a 22-foot Sprinter van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's unusual, and they were probably surprised that. Did they ask you what kind of rig you had?
Yep. They
did.
asked for a photo of us and the rig.
Oh, okay, and they didn't have a problem with the fact that it was small.
Nope, and all our requirements were full hookups for that length of time, and they did have to get water for us. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I want to go back to what you said about you found this position on a website. What's that website called?
Workcamper.com.
And you said it's a free version.
Yes, for the person looking for a gig, you can do different versions. So you can do the free version, which is you just get daily emails and you can peruse them and then email directly to the poster.
So if someone were interested in this kind of thing, they can sign up for the newsletter and then they would get notices all the time about positions that are open.
Right. And for a subscription, you can then post your resume and put out there what your qualifications are, and then they can approach you. They can contact you.
And what is a prescription? A subscription? What does a subscription cost?
I don't
You don't know.
know.
Okay.
Because I haven't.
Do it.
Yeah. I don't think
How
it's
long
much,
did it? How long did it take between the time you saw the listing and you were accepted, or they actually reached out to you?
Like the next day or two. Yeah,
Okay,
it was very fast.
Very fast.
And just so you know, not everybody does. On the person who is putting out the job, it costs them money. So they may not do it again because it costs money. They might find a different venue that is for free. So just so you know that, people are paying for that service for workcamper.com.
And does it cover like state campgrounds or is it just federal?
It could be anything.
Anything.
It could be private campgrounds, state parks. It could be Forest Service. National Park Service. It could be even I've noticed some listings for like RV entrepreneurs that you go around and you advocate RV life, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so you were there just a few days and the pandemic hits and they said, close everything down. They said close the restrooms,
Close the restrooms and they closed the park gate. So we had to kind of be the first contact basically before they walked into the park. They had to walk down to the park basically.
And it was just the two of you plus another couple.
Another couple, yes. And then of course the forest rangers, and they would we would all alternate days off and whatnot.
Okay, so the rangers were also working at the same time.
Yeah, they did. They weren't always on the site. Sometimes they did trail work or whatever they have to do.
Did you have a uniform you wore?
Yes,
Okay.
a vest and a hat.
Oh, okay, so that's it. That's all they gave you.
A vest and a hat. Yeah.
Did they give you
a
masks?
rain jacket.
Did they give you a mask?
Yes. I had the 3M mask, and I actually asked, could we donate these? And they said, no, it's the government's. So, okay. And it actually came in handy.
Okay, yes, because you got sick, didn't you?
Yeah, shortly. I think I might have picked it up in Carlsbad Cabins because we went there the day before we arrived at Sitting Bull Falls, and then on the 22nd, I kind of came down with symptoms.
You might have had it, but you don't know for sure. But and you may never know.
I quarantined for 2 weeks, and I stayed away from people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, tell us the things that people need to be aware of or beware of if they're interested in this kind of a job.
Right. Well, you want to really be aware of your requirements. What do you need? Electricity? Do you need water? Do you need sewer? know what you could not do without, and that you foresee needing, like actually needing, not just wanting, in your rig. Know your size, the size requirements. This was really a test for us to see if we could hack 2 months together in a 22-foot van, because we've traveled before with it, but we haven't like lived out of it for that length of time before, and we found we did, and we didn't really miss anything from home. So that was enlightening. As far as the job requirements, you want to really get in writing how many hours each of you have to work, or negotiate whatever per couple. In my case, my husband worked full time.
He works remotely, right?
He works remotely online, so it was okay with the supervisor that he could work with on the duties of the volunteer opportunity, the requirements as he could, as time allowed, and he fulfilled that. Yeah.
So, since it was closed down, but the park, and remember, there are no campgrounds here.
Right.
So the park was still open,
Yes.
and so there were still people coming.
And people came, especially when other parks closed. Then they came
And what was
in
that
droves.
like?
That was it was a learning experience.
That's a kind way of putting it.
Yeah, it was a learning experience. Especially as people came from all over, like out of state, and so you had to learn. In this special circumstance with COVID, you had to be aware of social distancing and masks and whatnot.
How did that change your duties, though?
It really didn't, because our duties.
Well,
except for supervising the falls and whatnot, and visitor interaction. So
what about cleaning?
The bathrooms were closed.
So that
and when we
changed.
did open them, we put masks on for the cleaning, or those were relegated to the
And
park
what,
staff.
what did people do while the restrooms were closed?
Well, they found alternatives, and so that became a problem too, a health hazard. So they eventually closed the park, just 2 days, but actually before we left. So
The same thing happened with the people remotely camping as well. They've been dumping their tanks illegally and leaving quite a mess for the forests.
Yes,
Yeah.
it adds up. So
And so
you really-
was your part of your duty trash collection?
Yep.
So you
trash
had to
trash pickup.
pick up
Yep.
trash on the trail,
Yep. And we did some picnic table cleaning, painting signs. We did our yard work, which included cutting the grass, weed eating, and blowing and edging.
what kind of equipment did they give you?
All kinds.
Is that a big lawn?
Riding
like
mower,
Oh,
a push
really?
mower, a edger, a blower, and a weed eater. Yeah.
And who was doing your lawn at home while you were doing the lawn?
we paid our own lawn service at home, so it was quite ironic, and we got a chuckle out of that. They were volunteering while we were paying for our lawn at home getting cut. Yeah, but it was for the service.
Yeah.
So
And
because
how-
they're very short staffed, and they rely a lot on
Really?
volunteers. So
Yes.
anybody can volunteer, and you just put your resume out there, and they really are desperate for both employees for the National Forest Service, and they're hiring, and also volunteers, of course.
And you were quite a ways from town, right? What was the nearest
yeah.
town?
So that you want to know ahead going into it. Are there laundry facilities, and where you're going to get your groceries? For us, what attracted us to this work camper gig was that it was remote, and it was a beautiful landscape. So we really had it all to ourselves with full hookups. So that was the exchange for the volunteer position. We did have to, on one of our days off, go drive about an hour into Carlsbad, which was the closest city, and do grocery shopping, and then we had to drive to another location to do our laundry, and
that
it
was
took a while.
on your day off.
That was
you
on
had
our
to
day off. Yeah.
And you had 2 days off.
Right. So the other day we usually spent hiking when my husband had his way. Yeah, long hikes. There's lots of long hikes there.
Oh wow. So would you do this again?
I would. I wouldn't do it consecutively, probably, because it's nice to have a break. I would look in the future for jobs that either pay hourly or with a stipend, or recompense something like your expenses in some way. Because we did put in a lot of work. We put in each 8 hours a day, and so It was.
And they don't necessarily make that clear when you are applying, or do they?
They do, but you want to have a firm understanding with your employer how flexible it is, and how involved you need to be or not, whether you can go off of hiking or whether you should be on duty all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah. What do you do if you are working with someone you just can't work with? What happens if you leave? Are there any kind of repercussions?
From past, what I hear, some people just come up with a family excuse or something like that. They just say, "Oh, I have a sick aunt" or something. I don't know, but
they don't just leave at midnight.
I don't. No, they don't. No, that would be disrespectful. I would, or you could just be honest and say it's not what you expected it would be, or whatever.
Is it typical to give like a 2-week notice or something so they can find someone
that would
else?
be respectful to do. Yeah, so they can find somebody else. And it's hard to find work campers that stay the duration. Yeah.
Okay. Well. It's really been interesting to hear your perspective on it. At the end of our trip this month, hopefully we're going to be able to hook up with my brother, who is doing a work camp at a private campground, and ask him about it. He's kind of the landscape guy,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
No, he's fixing everything. So
Yes,
anything that he's
maintenance.
fixing.
Oh yes, I
doing all
learned
the
how
maintenance.
to replace a water sprinkler solenoid, and I did a little faucet repair. Not
good.
faucet, a sink repair. Yeah.
So now you're ready to go home.
And lots of painting experience. So I did. I did 19 picnic tables.
How much paint does
Concrete.
it take to do?
A
They
few-
were concrete?
Yeah.
So
The
they're not-
concrete 4-surface ones. Yeah.
Okay.
You
About this
develop a
size?
system. Yes.
How much paint did it take to do one?
Oh, several gallons.
Do they paint them every year? Do you know?
I think so. I'm not
Okay.
quite sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They rely on volunteers for that, and lots of railings to paint too, and signs to clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll pass on the house thing. But,
It was a lovely experience
but
in
I'm
the end.
glad to hear you. Okay.
It worked out well.
yeah, because John can't do maintenance. We know that, right?
You learn a lot. You learn on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Lori. We're going to now have a campfire, our first one on the trip so far.
Oh yay! Looking forward to it.
Thanks. Let's hope it
Okay.
didn't turn off by itself. Because it could have. Because that's happened before.
I run out of fumes for sure.
Hey, David, put some
More smoke in the fire.
Smoking me up.
This is the one where. This is the
Do you know
one.
what this
where
is?
the-
Tell us about, is it an app?
Yes,
An app
It's an
called?
it's called Polar Steps. Polar Steps will record your movement across the country on a trip that you can set up. You can have a start date and an end date, and you can send the link or invite friends and family to watch where you are and see the pictures that you upload, so they can keep tabs on where you are. You can put it on Twitter or Facebook if you want to do it publicly, or just send specific to specific people.
How did you
And,
learn about it?
We just were sharing Wi-Fi at the visitor center of Davis Mountain State Park one spring, and a Dutch couple who were traveling for 6 months in the States, they told us about it, and we asked what they were doing, and they were communicating with their family. And I said, "Oh, do you text them all or email your pictures?" And they said, "No, we use Polar Steps, and they can keep tabs on us." So that's what we do. So it tells you where you're traveling.
Show me the map.
Here's the map, and so it tells you, shows you where you started, and each one of these little baubles are the steps. And so if you click on a step, it'll tell you where that step was, and you click on the step, and then you can see all the pictures that you've uploaded for that particular step. And video, it'll do video as well. And you can reorder them as you like when you make the step. To create a step, you just either click on the Now button or add a plus sign, and you can either manually type in the location, or if you have internet, it will find it for you where you are.
And I also like that you can put notes down there.
You can put notes, people can like it or comment or ask questions. You can forward certain pictures. It'll also tell you the temperature and the date of that location.
Okay, is it available on both Android and?
I believe it
Apple?
is. I believe
Okay.
it is.
Okay, that's great. I'm gonna look that up. I need something else. I need another technology.
So I'm gonna do our step right now, and if we had Wi-Fi access or internet, it would probably put the step name in here. It would automatically sense where you are,
okay.
especially a national park.
Yeah.
You know, we'll plug that in. So if I want to put it in manually, instead of somewhere in the world, I'm going to put where we are right now. It'll tell you your arrival date, and then you just click on the photos, choose from your library, and we have
Pick David swimming in the lake.
yeah, David was swimming in the lake today.
He didn't just swim in the
I
lake.
usually put pictures of our campground.
He swam across the lake.
Oh, it's a little lake.
And it's probably what temperature do you think that is? No. I think it was 33.
The deer came right up to
Oh, so
us.
you can put as many pictures in there as
Whatever
you want.
It just takes longer.
Okay.
You know.
Oh,
And then you can trim. You can trim your video too.
so I don't need to have a YouTube channel. I'll just do polar steps.
It is fast and easy.
Yeah,
That's what I love
yeah.
about it. And you don't have to send out text to certain people or have a text group. They can just check on you and keep tabs at their convenience, and then you don't have to
That's
worry
neat.
about internet or not. And you can set it where it's you have your location services only while using the app or while you're traveling. So it'll actually track your
Yeah.
movement
That's
exactly.
neat. That's
Yeah,
neat.
your path. And then it's kind of neat to refer back to the trip and say, we've done that several times. Like, did we go this route or that route? And we can go back to the map and see
Yeah.
which way we went and what
Right.
places we stay. And then when you have your pictures up, you can actually situate them however you like.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you publish it, and then it will, right now it's on offline mode because I don't have cell signal, but you can publish it, and then everyone will then see it.
Thanks.